Welcome to the Equity.Guru Investors Roundtable. It's just because I'm so excited about this today. It is TGS Esports. Woo! And we have some tie-ins here. We've got a lot going on to talk about. We've got sports to talk about. We got wrestling to talk about. And we got this stock to talk about. I'm Rob Simpson. Just below me is Chris Perry, who's going to get us started here in a second. Michelle Tura is just below him and carrying all the weight today on the bottom bunk. Woo, look at that. It's TK Indochina. CP, tee us up on TGS Esports.
Okay, so this is a rejigged company due to COVID. When they first came out, it was called the Gaming Stadium, hence the TGS. And the deal was that they were building live venues for esports tournaments across North America. The first one they built was out in Richmond in an old car dealership. They've got a nice big space out there that did really great for the first few months. Then COVID hit and the company had to rejig. There wasn't going to be any live tournaments for a while. So they moved to online esports tournaments where they have found a rich vein of popularity. They still have the live venue, but rather than using it for tournaments that might or might not be allowed to happen, they're using it as a production space, a small visual studio. So they're creating podcasts. They're putting on events like boxing, wrestling, things like that, and driving in some live revenue that way. But for the most part, this is a long-term esports picks and shovels play that unfortunately had to wriggle out of some issues that weren't its own. It also had some deal issues that I'll talk about later. But this is a renaissance story where nobody's really paying attention. The stock price is low, the risk is low, and I think it's a really interesting company to get into.
Michelle next with the charts and numbers.
Right, yeah, just as Chris said, I mean, the stock is here ranging at between 11 cents and 13 cents. It seems like a good area to get in, and I mean, Chris will probably talk about it a bit later, but I'm bullish on the whole esports sector. I know there was supposed to be a North American league, like a gaming league. I know Vancouver has their own team. I believe they're sort of sponsored by the Vancouver Canucks or something like that. And this arena, I remember looking at this a few months ago, was supposed to be the I guess the home stadium for that team. I believe, in the future, you're going to see a lot more esports and gaming. So I think it's a good long-term investment. And I just wanted to show you this because a lot of people were talking about this when it happened. But I mean, look how popular e-gaming is. My brother and a few of my friends are big gamers, and they watch these games in stadiums. Like it's quite crazy. I think the League of Legends final was here in Vancouver a few years back, and I mean, it was sold out in minutes.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I think people forget that people have been selling out like the Staples Center in LA. I mean, it's been good 15 years now where you're packing hockey arenas to watch other people play these esports, these video games. TK?
So it's actually not only on the esports organizers, it's also the bigger firms like EA Sports, etc., who are getting their feet wet with some of the action that's going on. So they're making a lot of deals with contracts where, for example, FIFA is one of the biggest games globally. I'll argue for sports, and a lot of the players are sponsored by some of the firms to play, and they get these deals where you use a certain team and you go to a certain level in certain leagues, etc. And that kind of collaboration allows the whole ecosystem to kind of work together, where the live sports version is not being taken away from it, but it's also adding on top of that when they have sponsors coming in from the other direction. So, for example, the biggest news out right now is Lionel Messi's move from Barcelona to PSG in Paris. And most people would see that as just the player moving from one team to the other. But this allows the players to also take advantage of that brand name and improve their social media presence, get revenue money coming in. And that it's just like the ecosystem is perfect to be in the esports section right now, where everybody is benefiting from a network effect.
That's interesting. Like, so it's like all the esports players that are the Messis of their respective fields, and they bring all the sponsor opportunities with them. It's unbelievable.
I know the money prizes are huge right now. You know, if you look at even South Korea and Japan, well, South Korea more. I mean, their players are like celebrities. They're gamers, they're pro gamers, and I know there's a few here on Twitch. I can't remember his name, but the guy with the blue hair. But you know, you'll see him in commercials with Messi and Neymar, and you know all these other athletes because they're on Twitch streaming their video games, playing video games, and you know they're now streaming together with these competitive video game players.
Hey, Chris, you got a kick-ass little tie-in with this company, by the way.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second, but I wanted to just sort of get into a little bit of into the weeds a little bit on what the differentiators are here, because having stadiums and doing online tournaments is one thing. What these guys have done, though, is rather than go out and build from zero, they've gone and acquired other platforms that have existing user bases. So they're buying market. So they went out and they picked up the Pepper tournament platform, which allows individual friends to create their own tournaments. They've recently announced the signing of Even Matchup Gaming, which is a tool that allows tournaments to be more evenly stacked. So you're not in there against a platinum player when you're in bronze. They've got a collegiate esports development program that they're working on. And they've also teamed up with Fans Unite, one of our other clients in the esports space, to create esports prediction games. So they're out there reaching across into many different verticals to make sure that wherever esports evolves, that they're already there. And the thing I find really good about what they're doing is when they have an event, it's not an event where people might show up or people might not show up. They had a weekend in March where they had 1,400 people actually participating in their tournaments and 100,000 people watching on stream. Like those numbers are significant enough that when you go down to the TGS offices, the first thing they do when you open the door is say, "Hey, would you like a Red Bull? We've got more Red Bull here than we know what to do with." Right? They've got sponsors coming out of their ass, and you know the bottom line revenue. Some people might look at, they made $280,000 in July. That's pretty good numbers. Probably not profitable, but in terms of growth and good ways to allocate their money, they've been really smart. They've also done a lot of shares for debt deals over the past 6 months. Now, that's usually a big red flag for people to say, what's wrong with this company? There's nothing that sinister. What they had, though, was when they came to market, they had guys that got them to market that were happy to just burn paper. Anytime the company got over a level, they just shred that paper out there and make their money back. Now, the company went through some work to get those people out of the deal. Right? They took some losses. The share price went down. They didn't promote themselves because why reward nefarious behavior, right? So the company is now down at a point where it's at its bottom level. You can see on the chart, no one's buying, no one's selling. It is just a base. So for me, as the esports world grows, and as these guys grow into it, and as they demonstrate their thinking in novel ways, it's a really interesting deal, especially at this price. You mentioned a novel thing that we're doing with them. So people who listen to Rob Fay's Sports Bar Radio podcast that we put out every day will know that Rob and I have been talking about setting up a professional wrestling promotion locally. We know that WWE is a giant company and puts out trash. We know AEW came out of nowhere and competed with them really quickly. And we believe that local professional wrestling done right is a market that is ready to explode as people get through COVID and are looking for things to do outside the house. So we talked to TGS. We're doing a event with them on September 11. Actually doing 2 events. Shh, don't tell anybody. Only viewers of this roundtable know. But we're going to do a live professional wrestling. We're going to use their system to stream it to their audience. We've got all the local wrestlers from top to bottom who have reputations and talents that have been severely underutilized. And I say in dealing with the gaming stadium, they're like, do you need lights? We got lights. Do you need streaming? We got streaming. Do you need cameras? We got crews. Like, here's the venue. We got a bunch of chairs. We got a bunch of Red Bull. We'll get you sponsors. We got an LED wall. Like, it's like walking into a paradise for someone putting on an event. So when things do reopen and they can use that space for live events again, that's a whole other business that had a good valuation before COVID that slots right back into what they're already doing.
And if you need a dark horse add-on, TK has his leotards, and I've got my I got my wig, so we're good there. What are you doing as an
We've revealed way too much already.
What are you doing as an investor there, Vishal?
Yeah, so I like this. Chris was mentioning about the live event. So they are actually announcing Canada's first live esports event post-pandemic, October 8th and 10th. And they also mentioned that, where is it, in the revenues here, that their event in New York, which is next year, January 7th to the 9th, is actually already sold out. So I think, people are going to factor that in going forward. Obviously a lot of that depends on the path of the pandemic here, but, things are slowly opening up, and I think people are going to be rushing into these live events. I know I certainly will, because I'm looking forward to getting out and enjoying these things. So I like the base here. I'm a buyer.
TK?
Yeah, I'm a buyer as well. It's a company that has a massive tailwind behind it. It's got management that's executing deals that will, right now, they might not be profitable, which short-term investors might, come out of the stock. But I like companies that sacrifice short-term income for future cash flows. So yeah, I'm a buyer on this one. I'm taking your 5,000 and throwing it in.
Ooh. CP, a final paragraph.
Look, there's been so little volume on this recently because they've been a little bit dark in terms of the stock, that if TK does go put 4 or 5K into it, it's going to be a good day on that share price. I'm also a buyer. I've been sitting on it for a while. I really believe in the guys that are doing it. I really believe in esports, but I also believe that very few companies on the markets that are involved in esports know what the hell they're doing. These guys are right in the thick of it. If they're getting the A-list sponsors that they're getting, and they're getting 6-figure viewership numbers, that's real. That's real business. And they can grow from that really quickly. Esports isn't going away. But a few years ago, it was basically, the markets just said anything that has esports in its name is going to go up. We're through that now. Now it's, if anything, esports companies have to fight the downward tide to really show themselves. So I'm not looking at this chart and thinking tomorrow it's going to double, but I'm thinking it's going up. It's had a long time to be beaten down. It's given out a lot of shares for services to protect its cash. And I'm sure some of those shares have been flipped off as quickly as they could. So it's a messy time share chart wise, but the company is building and building quickly. I'll also say, just as as a matter of conflict, this is a Richmond-based company. They've gone and done a sponsorship deal with the local Richmond Football Club, which has 1,500 families as a part of it. They've done that because they want to set up a youth sports FIFA tournament across BC, and they're using Richmond as the pilot for that, which I think is really smart thinking. But also, I like that they're putting some money into grassroots and into a place where, every kid in Richmond is going to be wearing their name on the front of their jersey and their tracksuit. I think that's really impressive. I will say that I'm chair of Richmond FC. Just, hey, it happens.
Hey.
No quid pro quos. It's a really small town, Richmond, when it comes right down to it. If you're doing business with one person, you're doing business with everybody. So, the more we do that's interesting, the more things we do end up at the door of the gaming stadium, which to me is a really good sign. And it tells me that this isn't just a guy sitting with a receptionist in a House Street address. These are guys building something real in the community. And I know that, I'm a gamer as much as I've got gray hair and glasses. I've been playing games since my 1979 Hanimex Pong home entertainment system that had to be hardwired into the antenna of the TV. You remember, Rob.
Oh, yeah.
So, the average gamer right now is not 20. The average gamer is 45. We've been playing for a long time. So this is not a just for kids thing. This is a for everyone thing. And it's only going to get bigger. With every passing year, you've got a 10 million more gamers at the bottom end. And this audience just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So a lot of conflicts for me, but I'm buying the stock. I like the stock. And I'm hoping that they become a client in time.
All right, well, there you go. There's your built-in crossover interest disclaimer. And I'll also tell folks that past performance and our advice does not guarantee future results. So
Except in this case. No,
well,
I'm kidding.
just blew up my disclaimer. Do your own homework, people. And who are you saying I'm old and I've been around since? All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. This has been TGS Esports. Can't wait to see TK in his leotard carrying the ring card around at the next wrestling match.
September 11th at the gaming stadium. It comes out soon.
What was the company's name, the wrestling company? I should post it so people can see the...
Nation Extreme Wrestling. You can find it on nationextremewrestling.com.
NEW, big letters.
NEW.
NEW.
Very deliberate.
For CP and VT and TK, I'm RS. Talk to you next time on the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.